Hello guys. Today I'll be talking a bit over and about how to anchor and how to anchor on Mirage mainly and what it means to be an anchor. What are your goals? What are kind of your win conditions? What are like the important things that you need to keep an eye out for, and what are the common mistakes that you may see? And the first thing that I'd like to point out is like the main goals of an anchor is that you want to delay the T push. That means staying alive, and you're buying time for the CT rotations to come in. That means if you're alone on A site and you've got one guy in connector, one guy window, two guys on over there on B site, your goal is when they are executing on A is to stay alive for long enough to where your teammates come in and can support you, and you guys can make some sort of pressure on the T's, because if you have default area, right, you're here while they are running out A, and your teammate is around a jungle smoke, for example, like so, and he has your cross. You have a very strong crossfire, you have a lot of pressure, and if you add a few flashes to that, like from default, so that you can swing, that creates a lot of pressure and slows down the pushing T's a lot. And that buys time for even the long rotations all the way from B to come in. And so, again, first of all, staying alive is very important. So it means that you don't have to peek. You wanna play it as safe as you can. That means jiggling a few angles, but not necessarily committing to a fight, because you don't wanna die. And one more very interesting thing, or like for advanced anchors, is that you wanna play off of your teammates' utility, the guys that are rotating in. And that would mean a flash, for example, in front of a default, or maybe a smoke for you, so you can play around that, so that you can stay alive longer. And all these sorts of like utility sets, maybe they can molly around default so that you cannot get pushed from there, and you can isolate the fight towards sandwich. And this is for advanced strategies, and when you have team play with your team, this is something that you would often see people supporting their anchors. But a lot of the times you will see that the anchors are alone, and that means that they have to basically survive on their own. And the best way you can do that a lot of the times is by using a smoke, because a single smoke will make you at least as twice as difficult to kill and to flash out from position, because you are not vulnerable to mollies anymore.
Fire.
They cannot like get vision on you, they can nade you, it's difficult. And the next thing is, you can play around smokes really well. If you smoke here, for example, jump up, you swing, and you have a bit of a one-way, and you can lurk around the smokes, you can use their own smokes against them. So having a smoke is very, very important. And another thing to add to that is that if you do swing and you go 1-for-1 trade, that is the worst case scenario, apart from going 0-for-1 trade. It's a lot better if you survive and delay for 15 seconds and then die, than if you were to just swing, die. Because that means that the T's can push out freely. If you die early, that means that they have sight, basically, and they can push all like towards the CT or take a lot more map control away from the CTs, because the long rotations, that means that they can't cover that. So if you stay alive for 15 seconds, 10-15 seconds, your teammates will already be coming towards CT and might support you with a flash or something, and the T's won't be able to push CT. Very important aspect of an anchor is being very unpredictable. That means playing different positions so that the T's don't read you. Because if they know you will play default every round, the thing they might do is just, as they do an exec, they smoke, they molly, right, they do flashes, they will have people who will hunt you, die, right? So it's very important that you switch up the places that you play, and you might play on default one round, maybe passive. Next round you may play like Underwood. Next round you might be in Close Palace. This is sort of a worse angle because this is not favorable to you. But decent angles are even kind of a ninja. You can still play around this quite well. You can play around triple if you have a smoke, and you can also fall back to CT. So there's multiple angles that you can play on A side that will be good. On B side, the good angles I would say is van. Van is like having a van. If they can't flush you out, if they molly and you have a smoke, and you smoke it out, they're very difficult to kill. Like, you might avoid the flashes and just fight from behind the smoke, or you can even creep out, and you just create so much pressure and you are hard to kill. Next thing would be to play bench and throw a smoke for yourself right here to slow them down and just isolate the angles that you fight. Because that is the next thing that is good to know, is how to isolate angles, because you don't want to be stuck in a position like, let's see, right, okay, let's say here. This is a bad angle. Why is this a bad angle? Is this an unfavorable angle? Yeah, it kind of is. But at the same time, if they jump out, if the T's jump out and swing sight, you are vulnerable to them. You are vulnerable to this position, you are vulnerable to this position, right? So you have to jiggle between three positions. That's not good. Right, so if you are holding a position like this, you are able to isolate the angles that you want to fight. You might smoke at this, then you can focus towards this, you can creep behind the smoke. Someone might hold this line for you with an AWP, right, so you don't have to worry about this side. And it's just isolating the angles, maybe playing a one-way like this. That is really important for you. In terms of angles, a lot of people play this angle right here, and this is not a great angle. It is viable if you have a teammate who will flash you through. If you do a flash like this, I think.
Flashbang.
Yep, that's a good flash. But you need a teammate to set you up. Throw that flash, you swing, you get a kill, you fall back. It is much better if you have an angle from which you can fall back. Even if you're jiggling this, if you get a frag, you can fall back. So it's important that you have the space behind you and in front of you, so like until they push you, you have time to get away. And like even this angle is kind of decent because then you fall back. So not playing too close, for example even on A. If you're playing this angle, you're committed to the fight on ramp. So if they peek out, you get a frag, and then someone instantly trades you and you're dead. You have no time to fall back. Even kind of like headshot, this is not always the case, it depends on how you play headshot. If you get a frag here, you smoke like Cho. You throw a flash maybe for yourself. You don't have to peek from it, you can creep out. You have space around you that you can use and not die instantly. Another angle that people use is gate here. Again, if the T's swing on you, it's a decent angle if you have a crossfire from Gitrite. But if you don't, people follow you, die. You don't have a place to fall back to. If you have a smoke, then it's good, right? Because now you've isolated the whole fight and you can play around the smoke. So you might see a common trend now, where you see that smokes are your best friend if you're an anchor. Because smokes allow you to create plays that aren't common or aren't a like a set thing, right? They don't know exactly what you will do with that smoke. You may sit in it, you may push it, you may create a one way around it, you may just go away from there, right? It gives you the versatility and unpredictability to do whatever you want. I'm looking at my list of things. Now I will probably move towards the mistakes that you may see a lot of the times, and that is dying early. As an anchor, you don't want to be pushing too aggressively. You don't want to be taking like aggro positions like this, for example. Okay, this is a decent position, right? If you're solo on the B side, no, it isn't. You might get a frag, but then you die, and they have the whole site for themselves. Much better angle would be maybe playing inside of window if you want to be aggro. Right? You get a frag, you fall back, they don't have the site, you're alive. They have to push you, and now you can set up on site somewhere. You can hide, you can jiggle. The next very important thing, or like a common mistake that people do, is they don't use utility. If you hear a B rush as an anchor, you wanna put down that molly. You wanna delay at least for a bit, right? If you don't throw that molly, or if you don't throw a smoke for yourself, if you don't throw a flash, if you don't use your utility, then you're first of all giving that utility for them, for the post plant, and second of all you're just creating an unfavorable play for yourself, because you want to use that utility as best as you can. So positioning and utility goes above aim as an anchor. And that ties into not throwing your utility in one succession, right? You don't want to do, oh, okay, I'm gonna molly Tetris, I'm gonna smoke this, I'm gonna flash above myself. I'll also flash in CT because why not? Right? You don't want to dump your utility, you want to spread it out in a way that kind of buys time, right? As much as it can. So first you'll throw a smoke, right? You'll play around it a bit, you'll throw a splash into it, you may molly palace in a few seconds, right? You disrupt, you delay, then you use your flash, I don't know, behind you maybe, or above, and you peek with it. Bad flash, but kind of spread it out more evenly, so you don't just dump it. But for example here, on B side, if you are in apps, and you are getting pushed, you get a frag, the timing is that you molly first, they extinguish, you smoke, right? You react to what they do. So the dumping of utility obviously correlates to what they are doing. You don't need to throw the smoke down for a few seconds until you hear them pushing through the molly, right? Then you smoke. You use the utility wisely. Next thing is, again, kind of ties into playing close angles, and that is that you peek too early. So you're not sure if they left apps, maybe they are in apps, maybe they're not. So you're gonna peek it and you die, right? You may be playing position this, like this. You don't wait for the flash, you peek because you wanna get that info, and you die. You play on under, or in shadow. You're not sure if they're out ramp, then that's why you peek. That's bad, right? You wanna use that utility, you wanna use that flash. That was bad. But you just peeking early, peeking very early, like before even, for example, you smoke, and then you peek, that's bad. You white swing or whatever, that's bad, because you still have 10 seconds on that smoke before you need to make a play, or before you need to make a move. Next thing is being exposed to multiple angles. You may see someone playing like in front of triple like this, or behind triple, and I guess, yeah, you are not exposed from connector, but palace and both ramp are at danger. Or someone playing an angle like this. you may be fighting ramp, but you're also exposed to palace or someone playing an angle like this, right? In holding this, you're exposed to two angles. And also, very important thing at the end is jiggling angles instead of holding angles. You don't want to hold angles because the peeker's advantage will absolutely disappear. So you want to make sure that you just jiggle for info, like this maybe, or just, you know, little peaks. Dumb stuff. Just move around the cover that you have around yourself. You are not forced to stay in this position the whole time. You can maneuver around it. You can jump up on it. I have bad movement. You can play around the cover that you have. And that should be about it. And this was just all around like how to play as an anchor a bit better. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you learned something new today, and I will be back in a few days. Maybe even one. Have a good one.